Zenobia claims she was descended from Cleopatra. She said it in Egypt, while taking Cleopatra's country off Rome.
The time has come. Lower their standards. Raise the son of Palmyra.
So she picked this fight herself. She just picked it 300 years too late to have it. Zenobia owns the things that decide a battle. Numbers, the heaviest cavalry in the East, a general who has already taken a country for her. Cleopatra owns the things
Zenobia
that stand
must reach
around
the harbor
one.
before winter.
Ground, grain,
the Ptolemaic
boats,
army
the calendar.
slowly withdraws.
So both have a job. Zenobia has to finish before the year turns. Cleopatra has to last long enough to make the year matter. Both queens are real.
In
This
spring,
meeting isn't, and neither are the
70,000
numbers.
men walk into the Sinai.
In spring, 70,000 men walk into the Sinai, the first thing here that cannot be taken back. Desert on both sides, water carried for a fixed count of days, and no way to turn a column that size around inside it.
Her answer is to start emptying the eastern delta.
Cleopatra hears within the week. Her answer is to start emptying the eastern delta.
Begin emptying the eastern delta immediately. Fall back to the next channel and hold the line.
Zenobia doesn't go.
Our objective is Alexandria.
Where the grain leaves by sea and nowhere else, and the force built around the arm she trusts. Then she stays where the empire is, because a 3-year-old empire with a Persian frontier behind it does not survive its queen being 900 miles away for a season. Once that column is in the desert, none of it can be changed. Zabdas crosses with time in hand and knows exactly how much.
Move the column forward.
Nobody here is surprised by the Nile. Palmyra's wealth comes out of Egypt, Egyptian grain sails on the flood calendar, and every merchant in Zenobia's capital could name the month the river moves. He has weeks of margin and a straight road. The question was never whether he understood the country. It was whether the
Gravel
margin
that
would
carries
survive
the weight
Cleopatra.
without
Watch one
complaint.
horse in the middle ranks, armored across chest and flank, a rider armored to match, working a steady trot over gravel that carries the weight without complaint. On this ground, the Palmyrene heavy horse is the most efficient thing anyone has built. It is also the heaviest, and that is the same sentence twice. They come out at Pelusium, because everything crossing the Sinai does. Cleopatra leaves it thin. Zabdas has Egypt's eastern gate in days, and nothing inside it. The barges are gone west, the stores with them, and his carts roll out as empty as they rolled in. She cannot strip the west. That ground is farmed and lived on, and if Zabdas crosses it unopposed, he reaches Alexandria with his margin intact. So she offers battle on the last hard ground, before the canals, and not to win. She is doing it to take horses and take weeks. An armored horse cannot be replaced in Egypt. Everyone walked here from Syria, and the next is 900 miles behind. Men she cannot match. Horses she can subtract permanently, and each is a hole in the only arm that makes this army different from any other large one. It does not look like a plan while it happens. The cataphracts come at the center left at a heavy trot. They cannot gallop. There is too much iron on both of them, and they do not need to. What arrives is a wall of weight moving at the pace of a jogging man, in line, into infantry that has never stood against it. The Ptolemaic center does not explode. It compresses. The front ranks are driven back into the ranks behind them. The formation loses depth faster than a man can walk it, and a formation that has shortened cannot use its spears. After that, it stops being a fight. Her wings hold longer, on ground they know, and they hold long enough to do the job. Egyptian archers work the horses rather than the riders, because a rider on foot is still a soldier, and a horse on the ground is a permanent subtraction. The Machimoi on the right buy most of an afternoon before they give. She watches the center go and does not commit her reserve to save it. She commits it to cover the withdrawal. The second time in a fortnight, she has chosen what to keep rather than what to hold. By dusk, Cleopatra has lost the field, most of an army, and any argument that she can beat Zenobia's soldiers with soldiers. Zabdas has won it completely, and the bill comes in 3 parts.
Horses dead that no courier can replace.
Wounded to move, and units to reform before anything advances, and the pursuit he cannot make, because the arm that pursues is the arm that just took losses. Call it the better part of 2 weeks between the battle and the next mile west.
Before the march
He
could
started
resume
with weeks
west.
of margin. He has fewer now, and the river has not moved yet. This is where the contest changes shape. Winning that battle bought him the open road to Alexandria, and the open road to Alexandria runs through the Nile Delta. The
This is
question
where the
stops
contest
being whether
changes
Cleopatra can stop this army. It becomes whether the army can finish before the country stops carrying it. For 3 weeks, it looks like she was wrong. Zabdas moves west, along the firm spine between the river branches, and nothing stops him, because there is nothing left to do it with. The army that should have held this country is behind him in the ground. Towns open, because a town without a garrison does what towns do. He is taking Egypt at the speed of marching. At the closest point, his vanguard is 40 miles from Alexandria. That is 3 ordinary days. Not a forced march, not a gamble. 3 days at the pace this army has kept since the desert. No relieving force exists, because it died on the hard ground behind him.
Stand firm. The country underfoot is still holding.
The country underfoot is still holding.
Every man in that
By his own
vanguard
reckoning,
has good
the
reason
river
to
is
think
still
this is
weeks
finished.
away. Every man in that vanguard has good reason to think this is finished.
By his own reckoning, the river is still weeks away.
Then the reports stop agreeing with each other. A column that made 15 miles yesterday makes 8. Not from
Then the
fighting.
reports stop
There is
agreeing
no
with each
fighting.
other.
The rear guard reports the same,
Column that
and
made
so does the
15
baggage.
miles yesterday.
That horse in the middle ranks is laboring. Nothing dramatic. The ground still looks solid and the hoof still comes up. Every stride now costs something it did not cost last week. And after an hour of it, the
After
animal
an
is
hour of
finished
it,
in a way a full day
the
of
animal
desert
is
never
finished.
managed. Riders start dismounting to lead. Nobody ordered that. Zabdas gets it as arithmetic before he gets it as a problem,
The advance rate has halved.
and no one can tell him why. The reason is 1,000 miles upstream and 4 months old.
4 months old.
The Nile does not rain, it rises. Water that fell in the Ethiopian
The Nile
highlands
does not
arrives
rain.
down the river in a swell that
rises.
begins around midsummer.
The delta is not a plain.
It is a flat fan of silt, threaded with canals that Egyptians have spent 3,000 years digging wider. So the swell does not make the country muddy, it makes it an archipelago. Channels fill, the fields between them fill, and a road in June is shallow water in August with dry ground left on the levees and the town mounds. Which is why the
All that
horse is
iron on
finished.
man and
All that
mount
iron on man
goes
and
down
mount
through 4
goes down
hooves.
through 4 hooves into ground that no longer pushes back, and it stops being able to do the one thing it exists for, arrive somewhere in formation, at weight, together. The trot dies first, then the line. What Zenobia sent into Egypt is now expensive cavalry that can walk. Zabdas does the sensible things, in order. He takes armor off the horses and puts it on the carts, which buys him pace and costs him the shock he was saving for Alexandria. He pulls the column onto the levees, which are the only dry roads left and are about the width of a cart. He detaches men to hold the crossings behind him, because a column strung along causeways can be cut anywhere. Every one of those works. Every one creates the next problem. And Cleopatra's boats come out onto the new water, the shallow draft craft she moved west in the first week of this. No rams, no marines worth the name. They do not have to fight anybody. At a crossing 4 days back, 2 of them come down a filled channel and put arrows into the ox teams. Not the drivers, the oxen. The carts stop where they stand, on a causeway a cart wide, and everything behind them stops too. It takes a day and a half to clear, and by then the water has come up enough that the next crossing needs boats the Palmyrenes do not have. That is how small craft reduce an army at the head of a column, not by attacking it, by making its food arrive late, then later, then in a different week. By the 4th week, the strength at the front is a fraction of what beat the Ptolemaic army, and almost none of it is casualties. Men are holding crossings, hauling carts, walking horses. The army is being drawn out along wet country like a thread. 40 miles from Alexandria, and Zabdas cannot cover them. Somewhere in the 5th week, the choice stops being his. The water is still rising, the horses are done, and the difference between an army that withdraws and an army that dissolves is a matter of days of judgment. He takes them. The Palmyrenes go back east, along the levees they came in on. Armor off the horses onto carts, then off the carts and into the ditch beside them. Because a cart that has to be dragged is a cart that gets emptied first. By the time they reach hard ground, they are something that has to be rebuilt rather than resupplied. And rebuilding is a word that means Palmyra, 900 miles away, without the army Zenobia sent to hold everything else she had taken. Zenobia put 70,000 men across a desert on schedule, destroyed the field army of the wealthiest state on the Mediterranean, and stood her vanguard 3 days from its capital. Under these conditions, Cleopatra keeps Egypt. The river was always coming, and both of them knew it. Cleopatra spent the margin, emptying the east so nothing could be lived off, accepting a battle she expected to lose to take horses off a board they could not go back on, and keeping the boats that turned the water into a road she owned. So the counterfactual is not the calendar. Give Zabdas back the fortnight the battle cost and the days the crossings cost, and he reaches Alexandria on ground that still carries horses. Cleopatra did not beat the clock, she spent it. It cost her an army and a harvest. It cost Zenobia the only field army a caravan city can raise. At the moment, everything else she held needed one. And the heaviest assumption here is Cleopatra's own field strength, which the sources will not pin down. Zenobia never came herself. She sent an army into Cleopatra's country, claiming Cleopatra's blood, and the country gave it back to her in pieces.